evening. I'd like to call the special city council meeting of September 26th to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Thomas Masters.
Present.
Chairperson Tanya Davis Johnson.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Lynn Hubbard. Here. Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Councilperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Councilperson Terrence Davis.
Here.
City Manager Karen Hoskins.
Here.
City Clerk Claudia Anthony is present. City Attorney Andrew DeGraffenreich.
Here.
I'd like to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the mayor.
Shall we pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me.
Madam Manager, are there any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
No, ma'am.
Any disclosures by council?
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Community benefit.
Councilman Davis, you're recognized.
there's an item in community benefits. The mayor had reached out to me to discuss potential support. And I brought to his attention, but I don't have the documentation with me today. Bethune Elementary had recently sent some information out regarding a trip for students to St. Augustine for the old historical Florida trip. So I would present that information to staff to comply with what is needed for the community benefits for that the mayor is suggesting today.
Mr. Davis, are you taking those dollars from the fiscal year that we're currently in, or are you looking to do that in the next fiscal year?
No, the mayor, this is hit from this current fiscal year. He's expending community benefits before we get to October. Is that correct, Mayor?
Right, yeah, I had extra money. We have to spend it before the end of this month.
So he asked me, did I know any nonprofits there? I said, well, this Bethune Elementary did reach out to me about a trip. They're trying to raise money for transportation for students to go to St. Augustine for the historical Florida trip that they go every year, where they have where the slaves come in off the ships, showing that whole historical trip. They do it every year, and I will present that information, submit it to them for backup. So just approving this information, pending the information is correct. That's all.
What's the value of this benefit? Do we know?
I just told the mayor I don't know how much.
$200.
Madam
So
Chair.
the mayor is giving $200 to Bethune Elementary,
For the purpose of the St. Augustine trip.
and we don't have any
Education trip.
documentation, and it's going to the school district?
Yes, ma'am. I will submit the documentation tomorrow morning to staff.
Madam Chair, we have always,
Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
It's his community. He just trying to get rid of it. So I said, I knew. And on that, I said, well, I recently was just contacted by Bethune. I said, you can give it to them.
So he's talking.
So the mayor is technically giving the money, you are just making it
Providing
known that you
information.
provided information to the mayor for a potential benefit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, Mr. Mayor, is your intent to provide $200 to Bethune for this trip?
I confirm. But we've, I was just going to add, in the past, I know I've given money to Bethune before, maybe others have in the past. So it's not a new thing other than this project today. But in the past, I've given to Miss Granger, the school.
Madam Chair,
Madam Manager.
just to clarify, are you saying the funds, these are funds in your current fiscal year
Yes.
budget?
Yes,
Okay. Community benefits?
correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Miller Anderson, you recognize?
So for the agenda, though, I don't think this one is on there. Are you adding this one?
I
on
am.
there? Oh, okay.
I had
Well,
turned
nobody said anything.
I hadn't gotten
I
there.
didn't know.
I asked about additions. The mayor was silent.
Well, I thought you were
So-
speaking to the city manager when you said that. I'm sorry.
Because weren't we on disclosures?
Just go ahead and publicly disclose it, sir.
Yes, I had given that to the city clerk to add on for the agenda for tonight.
And Madam Chair, that was a part of the notice that was advertised. If you recall on the notice that I emailed to each one of you, it did say the approval of community benefits to expend funds.
That was on the document. You are correct.
What would-
But it
Madam
was not in Novus.
Chair?
It was not input in Novus.
But it was in a correspondence from the clerk that indicated that as a part of this agenda tonight, we would be dealing with the expenditures of dollars for community benefits.
But Madam Chair, usually don't
Councilwoman
we
Miller
put
Anderson,
it
you're recognized.
under consent though, right? Usually, community benefits is on there as consent.
They technically are, but things are a little out of whack, and they were not, it wasn't put on in that fashion. It
Okay,
was a
so he's
part of
just
the
adding
original
it.
request.
He's just adding it.
Mhm.
Okay. So, somebody gonna read it?
A public benefits request sponsored by Mayor Thomas Masters to Nelson's Outreach Ministries for hurricane relief for North Carolina. So this organization, you're giving hurricane relief for North Carolina through Nelson's Outreach Ministries to disperse the funds?
Yes, I'm giving, attempting to give $1,400. They have they're one of the nonprofit local organizations that have a program and projects to feed the hungry. They do it on a regular basis. So in addition to their efforts here in Riviera Beach that will be used to further their efforts to feed the homeless and those that need food, hungry, they, as you know, they have all those little boxes. They're also going to be sharing with the people who have been devastated because of hurricane efforts in Carolina and any other place that they are going to be trying to bless.
So they are sending, so that I'm clear in my mind as to how this is going to work. Nelson Outreach Ministries is going to be they're going to receive the $1,400, and then they are purchasing food to send, or are we talking about individuals that have relocated here to the city of Riviera Beach as a result of the hurricane to be serviced?
They're going to do both. They're going to be servicing people here. Also, we have some residents, people who are there in North Carolina, and they're going to be doing both. And in addition to just the ordinary feeding that they do. So 3 different things that we're helping them. I mean, we give them the money and they can do as they choose as long as they're feeding hungry and taking care of the homeless. So it won't be specifically for one thing or the other, but kind of an umbrella.
Madam Chair.
deal.
Councilman Davis, you're recognized. And then Madam Mayor, Madam Manager.
I was on the phone today with a representative on nonprofit in Wilmington, North Carolina. They have definitely reached a wall with a lot of resources. So this is something can be definitely supportive. Currently, right now, having a meeting with the Port of Palm Beach and some others so we can maybe do a county-wide with the port sending their package up to the Carolinas, because what happened in Carolina was definitely something they weren't prepared for. The water has just recently drained to where they can actually have access to get in and out of Wilmington, but the food is definitely hasn't been there effectively today. Today was very difficult for the families in that area, and a lot of the folks had to actually take off from their jobs to help out with the county and the local municipality and the churches, because they weren't prepared at the staff level and the infrastructure level to deliver, because a lot of the goods haven't made it there because of the flood. So in this situation, I just hope that Nelson Outreach is actually buying items to send, and I definitely would support it for this cause. Definitely be taking a trip in another week or 2. But I would like to have the corporation, when I bring back this initiative of the entire council, it won't be a councilman initiative, but maybe a countywide initiative we can all do to give back.
Right.
Wilmington, North Carolina is dear home to my family. My grandfather, that's his home. He was born and raised at, who retired from Riviera Beach. The young couple who lost their children and wife, that's my first cousin. So we are working quietly as a family to keep this together, but to help the actual community of Wilmington, because there's a lot of outskirt cities that have been impacted that no one's mentioning about.
Right, in
Recently
Florence.
today, they had a Hispanic community that no one knew was there. And when they found out, that's a whole nother story. But no one provided any level of service. So they need a lot of help across the country to definitely support what's going on.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you recognize?
Also, they're going to be, I've been talking about it for a week, and I met with pastors, so we are working, they're coordinating efforts to get clothing, bottled water, and anything that can be used to Nelson's Outreach Ministries, for they can help to deliver it there. So it's not just that one profit, but they're the ones, nonprofit, they're the one that's sort of coordinating the efforts as people will be donating boxes of food and all kinds of stuff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, just for the record, you know, after you said as long as they just do the outreach, that's all that we were concerned about. But if we're specifically saying for North Carolina, then we need to understand that they are in fact sending and shipping those items based on the community benefit dollars that were given, if that is what we are doing with the dollars. And I just wanted clarity, because what you said was, as long as they do something with it, and I just wanted, for the record, for it to be clear so that there is no misunderstanding or misinterpretation of the use of the funds.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Davis, you recognize?
I support you on that. This is a serious matter. It can't be taken lightly.
Madam Chair, I just want to be, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Are you done? Mr.
I
Davis?
just saying, I support you on it. I think we need to make sure that is taking place. I'm not necessarily working with Nelson's Outreach, just for the record. But I understand how significant this is, because just talking on the ground with these folks every day, you can really feel and hear in their voices about how much support they need. But I think we need to be very clear, and the mayor need to make sure that Nelson Outreach is definitely providing services to those folks when this money is done. Not to say they won't, but we need to make it very clear. You have a lot of folks that have lost their lives, are really needing these funds, and we need to make sure that this is definitely taking place if we're going to send funds outside of Riviera Beach or any resources outside of Riviera Beach.
So for the record, let me just say that there was no condemnation intended for Nelson's Outreach Ministries. I'm just following up on the statement that you made, and I just want you to be aware of how it was described.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, you recognize?
yeah, I just want to state now, they may be able to get, the more that they get donated, whether it's the truck or whether whoever is going to donate, whether it's a moving company, but whatever they get donated, the more they would have left to spend for other things. So I don't want it to just nail into just the delivery, but it's also inclusive of everything else that comes with delivery. They get that part taken care of, great, and then they'll have funds to do other things with it as far as relating, as Councilman Davis says, to North Carolina,
So perhaps
the
you need
relief
to.
efforts.
So I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that perhaps you amend the title to include that it will be doing some other local things, as opposed to making it, based on what we have here, it appears that the $1,400 would go specifically towards hurricane relief. So I would recommend that you amend that description to adequately reflect what it is that the dollars are intending to do.
Okay, I so amended. I had said that to Chief of Staff, I thought earlier to make sure, but maybe you missed it. Debbie? But it is for local efforts as well, so we'll amend it. Because here it says hurricane relief effort in North Carolina implies it's only for North Carolina, but it isn't. It can be used. Nelson Outreach Ministry will accept and deliver anything the kind and generous residents of Riviera Beach and those across Palm Beach County which will help people in dire need of assistance. So, yeah, but we will amend it to be inclusive of people who are in need of in Palm Beach County as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
So amended.
I do have a question for the attorney with regards to the remaining dollars that I have in community benefits. The West Riviera Elementary School, which sits in the heart of the district, has a moniker or its signage, and I wanted to be able to have that that moniker revamped. Can I use the community benefit dollars for that purpose? Then I would ask the council to also approve the forwarding of the remaining balance of my community benefits dollars in the amount of $700 to replace the signage that sits on Australian Avenue for West Riviera Elementary.
Oh, okay.
That's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr.
Want to
Mayor.
give 100 towards the relief efforts? We'll take it.
Are there any other additions of community benefits to be added? Oh, good. Motion to adopt the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman Miller Anderson, you recognize?
we're doing a disclosure, so we kind of jump back. For disclosures, I spoke with Mr. Wilkins from TD Bank. That's my disclosure. I didn't know we jumped across. and
No,
went to-
I asked for disclosures and no one made any, but we.
Well, then
kind
we
of-
went back to the community
Okay,
benefits.
so your disclosure is that you
Yes.
spoke to Mr. Wilkin at TD Bank. Okay,
Yes.
did anyone else speak to Mr. Wilkin at TD Bank?
But, Madam Chair,
Mr. Mayor?
I have a disclosure. I did had a long distance conversation with the regional manager, only person, the regional manager for government banking at TD Bank. His name is Mr. Scott Krieger, Kreiger. And he's located out of Fort Lauderdale.
And he's a regional.
He's a regional group manager, government banking. That's his position. For TD Bank.
Hearing no further disclosures, a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Then motion to improperly second, Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Davis,
Yes.
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Hubbard,
Yes.
Chair Davis Johnson,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Is it necessary for me to go through each of these since there is no action with minutes, resolutions, unfinished business, et cetera? Should I do it for the record?
Not necessarily the minutes and the resolutions, Madam Chair, but however, your community benefits do fall up under your consent agenda, so
Okay.
you will have to do a motion for your consent agenda.
All righty, so all matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a councilperson so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam, are there any comment cards for the consent agenda?
No, Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk?
Your microphone is
Oh,
not really-
my mic, hello?
It's better than,
Okay, let me get closer.
Councilperson Davis,
Yes.
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
yes.
Pro Tem Hubbard, Chair Davis Johnson,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Alrighty, we are here for a discussion and deliberation regarding the payroll incident. And I would like to go on record as saying that I believe that this meeting at this particular time is premature. We have not gathered all of the information that I believe that we need before bringing this to a public forum. And I will stand in support of the city manager should she determine it necessary to discipline individuals, an individual or individual. I will give my full support. It is not my decision to make, but I certainly want to go on the record as stating that we don't have all of the facts and the information that I believe that we need to have in order to have this discussion. So for the record, I am now on the record stating my position.
Madam Chair,
Chair Pro Tem, you're recognized.
my understanding is that this meeting will be just a matter to reassure the employees that there are protocols being put into place so that it doesn't likely happen again. And my understanding also was that we weren't going to analyze or dissect the situation here today. It was just a matter of letting the employees know that we are putting protocols in place to keep this from happening again. That was my understanding, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Davis, you're recognized.
I would like to say that I haven't received anything from the city manager's office for us to approve or review for the protocols. This is something that should be addressed at the staff level. Too many times we have taken our business public when it should be city's business. There's no policy in front of us right now to address it. I do believe that staff, unless we're going to be micromanaging staff or telling staff what to do, we're not in no position to give any information out publicly unless someone has something that I'm not aware of. This is a premature meeting, maybe later at a later date. I believe the city manager has that right and has authority to address all staff at her own meeting, and she should be allowed to move forward at that juncture when the time is appropriate. I do believe that this meeting is a little premature, but not because we don't have all the documentation to even conduct the meeting the way it should be done. And I don't support that we have a meeting at this point. You know, I support approving the community benefits moving forward, but Ms. Hoskins is still reviewing information based upon my knowledge, still waiting to hear from information. Until that is done, we should not be conducting the meeting.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
I called the meeting. I called it, first of all, I don't think it's ever too premature to talk about people's money and getting paid. Not to be in disrespect to Mr. Davis. I called the meeting because a lot of things are being said, a lot of accusations, a lot of controversies, employees kind of somewhat concerned, maybe stressed out, not knowing if this will happen again. And I've been stopped many, many times since that incident on Friday, asked questions about, well, how can we know? Or what will we know? What is in place that this won't happen again? We're not here to shame and blame the bank or the city. We're here to, as Mr. Davis said, or whoever said, let the employee, I think Councilman Hubbard, know that there are some safeguards and some checks and balances that have immediately been put in place by the finance director that will make sure that this does not happen again on our watch. And there was a memo that has gone out from the finance director, and the memo states what those safeguards are and also what the balance in check are. And I think it's important that the public will know that too. There are people out there that's using this issue for political purposes. They're saying that our city messed up, that we're inept, that we can't get it right. And that's on the backdrop of a lot of other issues that have been called into question. So I certainly, I don't try not to do anything premature. If there's a reason to do it, and if there's a reason to get ahead of something, if there's a reason to nip it in the bud and to put a rest that everything's going to be all right at the next paycheck. It's at the next time to get paycheck. And the other reason why I called it, my signature is on. There's only two people that signed for the city on payroll. That's the mayor and the finance director. So I felt that I had somewhat of more of a fiduciary obligation and responsibility to the employees. As they see Thomas Masters and they see Randy Sherman on there, they asked Thomas Masters what will be the assurances. So this is not, I agree, the purpose of this meeting was not to be a judge and jury or to shame and blame. I did have a 45-minute conversation with the bank, and they are working hand in hand with the city to address issues forthcoming and those that in the past as well. So I'm at peace with the conversation that I had with the gentleman that's over the whole region. So, Madam Chair, I would like for the finance director who made a memo and sent it out yesterday to us, that memo be made public, for the employees will know that Mr. Sherman has put into play immediately these kinds of things. I call it checks and balances that will make sure that that doesn't, just for the employees' peace of mind. Facebook can stop all the foolishness and all the social media and all the things, because I think this memo will give that direction. And our employees, who I'm mostly concerned about, I'm always concerned about the public, but the people who are affected are those that receive checks and those that will be receiving checks. And they work very hard. Police, fire, general employees, and others, they work very hard. And I don't want them to go 2 weeks. Another week, it would be another week. It would just almost be there. So I thought it would be prudent for me to call this meeting, and I did have some support in calling the meeting from up here, as well as from employees, as well as the general public. That's why this meeting is being called, for we can give our employees a peace of mind.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Chair Pro Tem, you're recognized.
Just for a point of clarity here, when I mentioned giving the employees a peace of mind, or to let them know that regulations and rules were being put in place, I was speaking that our administration, Mrs. Hoskins, is working diligently to make sure that that does not happen again, and that she is reviewing the protocols that are in finance. So we don't want to have the chicken garden, the fox garden, the hen house. What we're saying is we would trust, with that level of experience, when she gets done, she can assure the public, the employees rather, that there are safeguards that are being put into place. Now, any documents that would be released to the public, to the employees, all should come from Mrs. Hoskins, because we cannot have staff putting things out into the public that, with 35 years of experience in finance, that our city manager has not laid her eyes on, and that I'm sure she has read the memo, but we have nothing to say that this is what she is and wants to do. So we have to, the protocols that are going to be set up, the assurances that are going to be made, I want to see them come from Mrs. Hoskins once she finished her due diligence, and for the reassurance for the employees to also come from our city manager, because she is well qualified to handle this situation, and to give the assurances that we need.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you recognized.
Thank you. For example, there are some things that the public needs to know now, as well as employees. For example, that there is an investigation that the city has launched, and that the internal auditor has launched, and will be looking in. Pardon me. That will be looking into the whole incident and getting clarification, and that's fine. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I just think that the memo, that the public should know exactly what the safeguards are that are put in place. Has nothing to do with investigation, has nothing to do with what happened, how it happened, and all that. It's just that. And I'm not asking for the entire memo. I'm asking to be, not the entire memo to be read, but that is essential what those safeguards are. I think when people have information is powerful. Mm-hmm. And I would like for Mr. Sherman at this time to come and let the public know what those safeguards, and employees know what the safeguards are that you have implemented with the approval of the city manager, Karen Hoskin. I don't think this is no secret here. I think she has she got the memo and signed off as far as I know. So, Madam Chair, I'm asking for the finance director to give us at this time.
Before the
publicly.
finance manager comes, Mr. Mayor, color me naive, but we have a citywide electronic system that can notify all of our employees of this memorandum, and at the appropriate time, it would be responsive and responsible of this city to release a press release to outline what has actually happened. I still stand firm in my position. What Mr. Sherman has submitted simply tells us what the steps were. There are no preventative measures contained in this document. It simply outlines the activities that happened. And I just think that we need to do a better job managing our narrative. And before we take things public, it is my opinion, and this is my opinion, that moving forward, we should have notified the employees in writing by email of our intent not to have this incident repeated. And then secondly, once we have gotten all of the information that we need to be able to present the city's position, we could have very easily issued a press release. We've just got to do a better job of controlling. I am by no means saying that the public does not have a right to know. We want to make sure that when we are informing the public, that we are informing the public with accurate information and what our true next steps are. So that is I'm going to stand firm on that, because I just believe that we should do a better job of managing our narrative and managing this city. And so, Mr. Sherman.
Madam Chair.
Madam Manager.
First of all, as I apologized or spoke on Friday via email to all the employees, something happened. And when I spoke with the mayor on Friday evening, I urged him not to have this meeting at this time until we as staff knew exactly what happened. Now, we're at this meeting just, talking about the memo and measures that will be put in place. Yes, we have talked about measures that will be put in place so this never ever happens again. And I urge you not to go into detail. You've talked to the bank, and I understand your name is on the check. However, as administrators of the city, I just wish you would follow the protocol and let city staff handle the day-to-day operations as it relates to, working with the bank, trying to figure out, what exactly happened. Now, we are still looking at documentation, reviewing computer logons, and still obtaining information from the bank. So we are assured that we weren't hacked or, anything out of the ordinary happened. It may have been just a simple mistake, but we don't know that at this point. As you stated, the internal auditor is looking at it, and the bank has looked at it and provided us information as late as this afternoon. So I will assure you and guarantee that this will not ever happen again, so the employees can be at a comfort level that when we say we have direct deposited your funds, your paycheck, that those funds are there. Now, the funds usually post at 12:01 a.m. Friday morning. They didn't post, but they did post at 5 on Friday afternoon, which is out of the ordinary. Everyone got paid. There were no overdraft, no one was charged any overdraft charges or anything of the sort. It was such. It was just a delay in the payment posted to their accounts. So, you know, if you still want Mr. Sherman to get up and talk about, I don't think there's a need for him to get up and talk about the memo or, you know, anything. I assure you that this will not happen again.
Madam Chair,
Mayor, you recognize?
that is not the conversation that I had with the manager. I don't recall her asking me not to do it. I do recall her saying, really? Really? But that was basically all I remember or recollect about the conversation. The manager does what she feels that she has to do as manager. The charter gives the mayor the right or the responsibility to call special meetings. Does not have to be approved by the manager, does not have to be approved by the council. They just don't show up. Just like if two council people call a special meeting, if they don't show up, you don't have a quorum. So we have a quorum. We have 5 people and the manager here. I do think it's important. Mr. Sherman does not have to speak, but I would like for the public to know, particularly the employees to know, there are some steps that have been put into place. What those steps are is all I'm asking. What those steps are. That,
I know those steps.
okay, what you just,
The additional
the
step
additional
will
steps,
be,
that's all I'm concerned about, that the employees will
the
hear those
additional step will be that on Thursday afternoon, staff will have a third review of the file being sent to the bank, and they will call the bank to verify that the ACH file has been transmitted.
Okay, and that's an additional step.
Right,
That we haven't done in the past.
that's correct.
Okay, and
We have always relied on technology, and sometimes technology do fail you. Just by looking at the bank and saying it's approved, that's what we've relied on. But we're going to go that additional step and call the bank to verify that those funds, that the ACH deposit was transmitted.
wonderful. And I also think, I have reason to believe that the bank also will probably have an additional step, which will be good. So we have more eyes, more hands on it. But I'm very sensitive about this issue because I had a bad experience personally. I was paid a payroll check from the city Friday. It's been months ago, several months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I don't recall the exact date. But I went to the bank on a Saturday morning to cash my payroll check, and they couldn't cash it. And the manager, I had to get the manager on the phone, and the manager worked it out with the bank to transfer, I guess, funds from somewhere else in the bank on another account that we had in order for the mayor's check to be cashed. That was something happened to me. And so I don't want employees for that to happen to an employee. I was just glad to get my money. I didn't make an issue out of it, but it happened. I went to the bank and didn't cash it. So things happen, whether it's the bank, whether it's the city, stuff just happens. And I'm glad to see that the manager, Mr. Sherman, and the bank are working together as a team to make sure that things just don't happen again. I'm satisfied now that the manager has stated what those steps are. So when I'm stopped and moving around the city, I will be able to share that with the employees. And I'm sure that, as someone said, the memo or whatever, I'm sure that will be made public at some point as well for the public to know exactly that the memo.
And-
I'm good.
Madam
And
Chair.
Mayor, Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Madam Manager.
The memo that you received are just the steps, what occurred on September 19th. So those are the steps that are followed each pay period. I don't think that this is the type memo that we will not release this memo to the employees, but a memo, ensuring that it won't ever happen again, the incident that happened last week.
And it would include those steps.
Thank you. Councilwoman Miller Anderson, you're recognized.
I heard everything that all of you said, and I agree. It should be the manager that handles it. But what I think the reason I'm in support and wanted to find out more is because I was not being given all of the information. I know when I spoke to Mr. Wilkins on yesterday, he did indicate that he had given all of the documents to you all already. And we, you know, we know what happened, and the fact that someone did not, they went back in, and you mentioned this on that Friday to me when I spoke to you, that the bank was showing that someone went back into the file and modified the file after it had been approved the first time. And, but the second approval was not applied in order for it to go through. So it was basically just sitting there because of the modification. But you said that there was some sort of discrepancy. You all didn't show that here on the city side, but the bank did indicate that was what the issue was. And I think for me, I understand trying to make sure that our narrative is positive and correct, but we need to make sure that we are transparent and just tell what happened. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. If it is someone did not do what they were supposed to do, then discipline them. But to sit here and pretend that, oh, we're still working on it, we're not still working on it. The documents have been provided. They are doing, Mr. Wilkins said that the extra tech IT work that's being done, he said, basically would still indicate what it is you've already received, which was Monday. I guess you all received some more documents, which is what you all sent me today, which had the additional steps. Remember I said on the Friday, what Mr. Sherman put with the memo only covered for Wednesday the 19th, and the modifications is the one that you sent today, which has all of the additional dates on there, where the partial modify was done, which is what caused the file to reopen and get stuck and not move forward. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but
Okay.
Madam,
Go ahead.
when I received information as late as 2 o'clock today from
Right.
the bank.
Right. He said he was
So-
sending, they were doing a
Okay.
deeper, but he said it should support what you all already had.
Okay, but just to clarify, we're not finished with the investigation because, you know, a staff member has stated that they did not go back in the file. And I believe I know why he's saying that, but I don't want to say it now. I have our IT staff looking at his computer just to, you know, look at some other things. Now, as I stated, I don't want to, you know, give out
Right, and
any
that,
other
I understand
information.
that. I'm just saying, we just
Right.
need to be transparent about,
And
you know, I mean, if you're still investigating it, fine, but we have the documents.
Madam Chair.
Well, you had the documents.
Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk.
Please be advised that all documents that you all have talked about here on this dais in this meeting need to be in the city clerk's office tomorrow morning, for it is now public record.
Well, the manager has it. She gave it to me, so it is always public record. Yeah, it's everything.
If she doesn't have it, though, is what she's saying. Just make sure that she gets a copy.
That's fine. And so I just want to make sure that we put that out there, that it was because someone went into it. That part, I don't think we kind of said what happened. You did say that to me.
We were
on
trying to
Friday.
get to the.
Madam Chair, please, could I finish my comment?
By all means, please excuse
Thank
me.
you. And so with the document that you sent, okay, it has the additional dates on there. So that information was given to you all already, but that was not provided until after I spoke with them and I asked for the additional documents to show what was already stated and what everyone already knew. So it wasn't like we don't know. There may be an ongoing investigation, but we need to put it out there. This is what happened. And if you need to discipline someone, if you need to just put corrective measures in like you're doing, that's fine. But I'm talking about the transparency part of it. Everybody's up here, you know, we shouldn't be talking about it. We need to keep it quiet.
No.
Let's just say what it is, and then we move on.
So let me just clarify. I never said, let's keep it quiet. What I simply said was, let's get all of the facts before we begin to put things out. If the manager conveys to us that there is still information that she is gathering, then we need to give her an opportunity. I don't believe that anyone here is suggesting that we keep anything quiet, and it's not a matter of giving a pretty narrative. It's important to me that we give an accurate narrative, and that is the position and the statement that I made. So let's just keep it clear.
Madam Chair?
When we are, as you asked, may I finish?
Yes.
So what we need to do is, the manager has indicated to us, and the use of the word transparency is suggesting that we are trying to keep something under wraps. By all means, I want to get to the very bottom of this situation, and whatever needs to happen by way of disciplinary action should be taken. Because there is no way that you cannot tell me that for a city of this size, processing the dollars that we process, that we are unaware of what the requirements are and what changes where. But I have to believe that if the city manager says that she is conducting additional information, then when all of the information is ready to be divulged, we should do it at that time. We tend to give pieces and parts, and therefore, you know, the narrative does go out, and then you have all of this misinformation circulating, which tends to just continue to keep us in this state of madness. And so I'm going to stand firm of that, and it's not a matter of not trying to be totally transparent. It is a matter of being correct in what we put out there as it relates to what happened, how did it happen, what was there any disciplinary action necessary, what was done, and how we intend for this not to happen again. So I just want, when it's regurgitated as to what I'm saying, let's just state it clearly for the record so that there is no misunderstanding, because this is a serious issue, and yes, we need to get resolved, and we need to understand what happened, why, who did it, who was responsible for it, who oversaw it, etc.
Madam Chair?
It was my turn.
No, I said Madam Chair a while back.
Chair Pro Tem, you're recognized.
When we all have a certain amount of information. We have bits and pieces. We cannot take one sheet out of a whole stack of sheets or one sheet out of an entire investigation and say that this is what happened. We know what's happened. We don't know what happened. That might be a part of what happened. That might be something that happened, but we have no concrete evidence that that's the only thing, or that that's what made everything happen that did take place. So I think it's incumbent upon us, if we really want to be transparent, or if we want to live off of bylines and headlines, or if we want to give concrete information when we tell what's going on. Because we do the culprit and the city and ourselves a disservice when we don't give all the information. Being transparent doesn't mean giving a little bit. I do want to be transparent. I want to give it all, and I want to give it correctly, and I want the public to know actually what happened, not what I think happened based on a portion of the evidence. So I do want the city manager to conclude her investigation, gather all the information, and allow her the respect to give us her report, because, as I said before, she's well qualified to do so.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Davis, you recognize.
Madam Chair,
as
when do
we-
I get to go?
Pardon?
Do I get to go?
I recognize him, and I'll come right back to you, please.
But I had already said it.
Madam Chair.
Point of order, please. Mr. Davis, let's let Councilwoman Miller Anderson complete her
No.
statement, and then I will come to you.
No
Point of
problem.
order, please. Thank you. Councilwoman Miller Anderson, you recognize.
My concern is that we've had a number of investigations or a number of things looked into, and as we know, sometimes they're not always wrapped up. We never get a conclusion of it. So do you have an estimated date of when you think this may be wrapped up?
Well, it should be by the end of the week. I had IT, and I thought I would have received a phone call from IT before the meeting started, but they were still looking at some things. So by the end of the week, it should be wrapped up.
Okay, and you will be able to provide us with an update on that?
Yes, sure.
And I want to reiterate what I said. I stand firm on what I said, and that making sure that we just tell what it is, and that's it. That's the end of that. Thank you.
We are in agreement.
Thank
We want
you.
to know what it is
Yes.
collectively. Any further
And-
comment?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis, you recognize.
As we continue to try to keep this city and build this city together, we need to make sure we talk about we as a city. Until the investigation is complete and the city manager determines how she needs to go, I think it's only fair that none of the board members outside of the city manager or the chair should be having any conversation with the media about what's going on with this matter. Because I think our residents, our employees deserve some time to operate appropriately. When the city manager is done what she needs to do with her investigation, she has the capacity to go to each department and have a discussion and have a working lunch, whatever she chooses to do to inform all employees currently. She has the capacity to send out a press release. She has the capacity to do a press conference. She has the power of this entire city. We as a board, if we would like to know what's going on, we can sit down with her on a one-on-one, get the information, and be that. We must protect the integrity and the brand of this city. And by all means, that means if something is done a certain way, gather all the information, stay on one accord, and let the facts speak for themselves. But when we get out in front of the facts, it shows us as if we're in a place of not being together. We have to stop this. This has been going on for almost 2 years of throwing around loosely transparency. We all support transparency, but it means all inclusive of all information. It's come to a point where folks have come to meetings and thrown transparency around from the public, from the podium, and we must focus on us, not I. The residents deserve better. The employees deserve better. Ms. Hoskins, you're the city manager. You have the right to get all the information out. If we want to know, we all have the right to sit down with her at any time of day to get the information. But until this investigation is complete, I do believe it's only fair that Ms. Hoskins should be the only one speaking to the media regarding this matter on this situation. Madam Chair, I'm complete.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mayor, you
I
recognize.
respect his opinion of Councilman Davis. That's not my opinion. I will speak when I choose to speak, number one. Number two, if the media contacts me and asks me anything and I know it, I'm going to speak. And I'm going to share with them or the employees or anyone else. I did not and have not spoken to the media about this because I didn't have all the facts on that Friday when someone else may have spoken to the media. If it wasn't the mayor. They tried to get me. I said, well, hold on, wait a minute. I haven't spoken to the manager. I haven't spoken to the finance director. But once that happens, if they call me, I'm going to always speak to the media. They look for me, hound me. I'm not looking for them. If they ask the mayor of the city, an elected official, I'm going to speak. No one will ever restrict the mayor as to when to speak, how to speak, what to say. I have been the mayor for longer than anyone sitting up here in their terms, and I think I have always been fair. I think I have always dealt with the mayor, with the mayor too, with the media in a way that they can appreciate how I've dealt with them. I just want to say again, everyone say for the record, they want to say this for the record, they want to say that for the record, but I want to just repeat, again, we have a charter. Now, either we're going to follow it or we're not. Either we're going to change it or we're not. In the charter, I didn't ask for the charter. The charter was here before I even knew City of Riviera Beach existed. But in the charter, it gives the mayor of the city certain responsibilities that no one else has. That's an elected official. And it spells it out. Suspension is one of them. Veto is one of them. And the right to call a special meeting as the mayor deems necessary. And I've used that, and I think it was the right thing to do then. I think it's the right thing to do now, and I don't apologize by any means. At the time that when I spoke to the manager, there wasn't a memo out then. There wasn't nothing about investigation. Heard about it probably a little later on, but still, this was not about wasn't about the investigation. The other thing is, I want to make it clear. There are times that the manager and the mayor may disagree on what should be done and when it should be done. And that's why the charter gives the mayor the responsibility and the direction. You call the meeting, Mr. Mayor, as you deem. I've only used that. Probably I can count on one hand how many times the mayor has called for a special meeting. And I do it by my own conviction and my own conscience when I feel it's absolutely necessary. So me calling a meeting is not predicated on what the manager feels what I should do or what I shouldn't do, just as I don't predicate what she should do, or he, or whoever the manager may be. The mayor has to look at certain things and make a decision, whether Mr. Horton agrees or disagrees, which he disagreed also about the meeting. His comments were to, oh, we don't want to air our laundry out in the public, and we need to wait and this and that. And I said, well, that's your opinion. And I'm not trying to dramatize it, but he has a right to his opinion. But it was for me to make a decision, not to disrespect him. I was we had a nice conversation, but I was very fair and honest. And I spoke to the manager. And I said to the manager that when I have a conversation with you, that conversation wasn't with Mr. Horton. It was with the manager. But she thought that it was okay, but it wasn't okay for an assistant or anyone else to come to me after the mayor has made a decision, except for the manager. So we've called this meeting. I think it was good to have happened. I think the manager has spoken, and the employees are now assured, and the media should report that there's 2 steps that are now going to take place, that this won't happen again. One. The second thing, the media should report, not telling them what to do, but I am. No, I'm just kidding. It should be reported that this was an isolated incident, and it will not happen again. Point blank. And that's good enough for me. I've done my job, and I thank the council for showing up. They didn't have to show up if they thought it was premature. I'm glad they did. And I hope that when 2 council people call a meeting, I hope they all show up. And there's been times when 1 or 2 people called a meeting and the other 3 didn't show up because they disagreed with, let me finish, they didn't show up. Or a notice went out from the clerk's office and stated that there doesn't seem to be enough support to have the meeting. But this time, because it's not 2 people that are necessary to call the meeting, I want to thank the council for at least respecting the office of the mayor and coming out to see exactly what I did and why I did it and where we go from here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam
Madam
Chair.
Chair,
Councilwoman Botel.
make a motion to adjourn.
I just
Second.
want to say something right quick,
I'm with
though.
you on that.
Madam
You're
Chair.
recognized.
The memo that you were mentioning, you know, it's on Novus. It is on Novus, so you were saying, Ms. Hoskins, you were saying, somebody said about it,
The clerk said.
someone was saying about not having it, you know, maybe not giving that to the employees, but it is on Novus, so it's already released.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk.
We didn't